before your first word reaches her, something older than language, older than the careful adult she has built herself into over decades of learning what to guard and what to let go. It happens in the first moment of your voice, not what you say, not the confidence of your vocabulary, not the care you took to frame the sentence, the quality of the sound itself, the frequency, the weight behind it, the pace that tells her nervous system something her mind will not catch for another 10 full seconds. Most men spend years perfecting what they say. They polish the message. They rehearse the delivery. They choose the right words with genuine care and genuine intention, and they never find out that she registered the answer before the sentence was finished. I want to tell you 5 specific things today, and the 4th one I almost did not include, because once you understand it, you will not be able to unhear it in any conversation you have ever had with her, but you have earned the right to know this. So stay with me, because this one changes everything. There is a man I want to speak to directly right now. He is not the man who checked out. He is not the man who stopped trying. He is the one who did everything right, by every framework he was ever handed, and still watched her choose someone who appeared to do none of it. He planned the thoughtful evening and received the warm hug at the end that felt like a door closing quietly. He sent the good morning texts. He remembered the small things. He was steady. He was present. He did not crowd her. And she looked at him with genuine warmth and genuine affection, and still somehow moved toward a man who was none of those things with the enthusiasm she never once directed at him. That specific experience, not rejection, but being surpassed by someone who seemed to deserve it less, is the thing he has never found a satisfying explanation for. His instincts were not wrong. His character was never the problem. His map was missing an entire layer that nobody ever showed him, and that layer begins with what she hears before she hears you. Dr. Helen Fisher at Rutgers University documented something in her neuroimaging research that most people read past too quickly. Romantic attraction activates the dopamine reward circuits of the brain in a pattern nearly identical to what is observed in states of intense anticipation, not satisfaction, but anticipation. Her nervous system is not rewarded by resolution. It is pulled by something it cannot fully predict. That is not a flaw in her neurology. That is the architecture of human bonding, and understanding it is the difference between a man who confuses her and a man who compels her. The voice is the first signal that architecture reads. Before eye contact, before touch, before a single word of what you plan to say. What I am going to show you today are 5 specific principles that change how her nervous system registers your presence, beginning with the one most men will never know exists. She is in her late 30s or 40s or early 50s. She has a career she built with precision during years when no one was helping her build it. She has a home that is hers, in the specific way that only things you earned alone can be yours. She has a life that works. What she has not been able to make peace with is the longing that still shows up at unexpected moments. Not for someone to complete her, she stopped needing that years ago, but for one person she does not have to manage. One person she does not have to pre-read before she speaks. She has been waiting, without saying she is waiting, for evidence that a specific kind of man still exists. She does not need you to be perfect. She needs you to be real in a way she has not felt in longer than she wants to say out loud. And whether she is 28 or 52, this architecture inside her is identical. The first principle is what I call the grounded resonance. Not volume, not projection. Not the performed authority that men sometimes mistake for confidence. Grounded resonance is the specific quality of a voice that comes from a nervous system at rest. And here is what nobody says out loud about this. Her body is reading your cortisol levels through the acoustic signature of your voice before she has consciously formed a single opinion about you. The prefrontal cortex, the part of her brain managing her list of reasonable criteria for a partner, gets involved later. The amygdala gets involved first. It is listening for threat or safety in the frequency, the steadiness, the unhurried pace of your voice before you have finished your first sentence. A man who speaks quickly because he is anxious to land well signals to that primal system exactly the thing he is trying to hide. A man who speaks at the pace of someone who is completely comfortable in the space he occupies, not slow as performance, not artificially deep, but genuinely unhurried, signals something to her nervous system that she will feel as warmth before she has a name for what she is feeling. For the mature woman who has learned through accumulated experience to look for evidence before she allows herself to feel safe, this is the first piece of evidence she is looking for. She is not thinking this. Her body is doing it, and her body is never wrong with her. If you learn this principle as a technique and perform it without genuine internal stillness, she will feel the difference. She has been paying this kind of attention for decades. One sentence was all she needed. But this only reaches its full power when you understand what comes next. Because without it, everything you just learned can quietly work against you in the exact moment it matters most. The second principle is the anchored pause. I want to be really honest with you about this one because it is the principle that most good men accidentally do the opposite of, and they do it out of care. When she goes quiet, when she creates a moment of space in the conversation, when she says something that trails off slightly without a clean ending, the instinct of a man who is genuinely engaged is to fill that space, to respond immediately, to demonstrate that he was listening. That responsiveness, offered at the wrong moment, communicates something her nervous system reads as low tolerance for uncertainty. And a man who cannot hold still in uncertainty communicates something specific to the part of her that has spent years testing without ever announcing she was testing. The anchored pause is the deliberate choice to let her silence have its full weight before you answer it. Not a strategy, not a waiting game. The genuine internal capacity to be present in a moment that has not resolved yet, and to let her feel that you are not rattled by its lack of resolution. Dr. John Gottman at the University of Washington documented the architecture of what he called emotional bids in early attachment. The small, often indirect gestures through which someone tests whether another person is truly present with them. A silence that waits for you is a bid. She is not pulling away. She is watching to see if you will stay still while she creates distance. Most men chase. The one who stays still is the one she cannot stop thinking about afterward. She will never tell you this directly. This is the kind of thing she cannot ask for because asking would mean admitting she feels it. Think about this for a moment. A woman sitting at her kitchen table at midnight after the house is finally quiet says this, not to anyone she is dating, to her sister, in a text she typed and deleted twice before she finally sent it. I just wanted him to sit down next to me without asking if I was okay. I wanted him to already know that I was tired. Just sit there and know. The third principle is what I call the deliberate stillness. This is the one the data on quietly unsettling findings supports most clearly. Dr. Sue Johnson at the University of Ottawa, through her decades of emotionally focused therapy research, documented the specific primal panic response that activates in adults when the person they are becoming attached to becomes emotionally unavailable, not absent, not cold, but simply unreadable. The adult brain in early attachment reads that unreadability as potential abandonment, even when nothing in the rational situation supports that reading. What deliberate stillness communicates is the opposite of that panic. It is the quality of a man who does not need to be performing in order to be present, who does not need to be generating energy or impressing or demonstrating his value in every space he occupies, who can simply be in a room with her in a way that makes the room feel different. She will feel this in her body, and I mean feel, not think, as a specific kind of relief. Not comfort, which is gentle and pleasant and not particularly magnetic. Relief, the specific quality of putting something down that has been heavy. A mature woman who has been the most reliable person in every room she has ever occupied does not respond to a man who performs his worth. She responds to a man who does not appear to need her to confirm it. The caution here is real. If deliberate stillness is performed as detachment, it reads to her as unavailability. And unavailability in a man she is beginning to want activates the very anxiety Dr. Johnson documented. Not pull, but panic. There is a texture to genuine stillness that she will recognize because she has spent years developing her own version of it. She knows the difference between a man resting and a man hiding. And the next piece either activates this completely or reveals the one place this principle silently breaks down in a way most men never recover from. The fourth principle is the calibrated frequency. This is where what she feels in that moment, and I mean feels, not thinks, becomes the territory. Her body knows before her mind catches up that this man is speaking at a frequency she recognizes. Not familiarity, not similarity, recognition. The specific, almost unsettling sense that the way he speaks, the cadence, the deliberateness, the particular warmth behind certain words mirrors something in her own internal register that she has never heard reflected back to her from outside. This is not mirroring as method. It is the natural resonance that occurs when two nervous systems are genuinely present with each other rather than performing for each other. Dr. Lisa Diamond at the University of Utah documented in her research on female desire that for women, emotional bonding consistently precedes and drives physical desire more than the reverse, that what she wants starts not in attraction, but in recognition. The mature woman who has built her walls with intelligence rather than coldness, who is not closed off but is extraordinarily calibrated, has a specific internal frequency that most men never reach because they are too busy generating signal to receive hers. When you speak at a pace that is genuinely unhurried, when you choose words that reflect that you heard what she said under what she said, when you are still enough to pick up the specific quality of what she is actually communicating rather than the surface layer of what she is saying, she feels something move through her that she has not felt in longer than she wants to admit. Not excitement. Something older and more specific than excitement. There is a warmth that moves through her when she realizes, before she can explain why, that this one is different. Not better looking, not more impressive. Different at a level below the metrics she has used before. If you perform this principle, if you study the words she uses and reflect them back mechanically, she will feel the construct rather than the connection. Her calibration for inauthenticity was built across years of paying very close attention. It is the finest instrument in the room. The fifth principle is the earned silence. Not absence, not withholding, the specific quality of a man who does not fill every space with evidence of himself. Most men have been taught, not explicitly, but through accumulated experience, that demonstrating value is continuous work, that stopping the demonstration is dangerous, that a gap in the performance is a gap she will fill with doubt. Here is what nobody says out loud about this. That continuous demonstration is the thing that gradually removes the mystery her nervous system needs in order to maintain the pull. Dr. Helen Fisher's research on dopamine reward circuits is precise on this point. It is the variable reward, the signal that cannot be fully predicted, that keeps the neural pathway activated. Constant demonstration teaches her nervous system exactly what to expect from you, and the moment she knows exactly what to expect, the dopaminergic activation flattens. Earned silence is the deliberate choice to let some of yourself remain unrevealed, not as calculation, as the natural confidence of a man who knows that everything he is cannot and should not be communicated in a single conversation or a single evening. For the mature woman, this is felt as depth. She has been in rooms with men who told her everything about themselves within the first hour, who she left knowing everything about and feeling nothing for. The man who reveals himself in layers, who holds something of himself in reserve, not as distance, but as genuine interiority. He is the one she is still thinking about on the drive home, in a silence that feels nothing like closing. The sexy relationship register understands this exactly. She has not felt this in longer than she wants to admit. And what she is feeling is not what she would describe as attraction. It is recognition of a man who understands something the others never bothered to learn. What I am about to tell you changes how you read everything you just heard, in a way you will not be able to undo once you understand it. Everything I have described today, the grounded resonance, the anchored pause, the deliberate stillness, the calibrated frequency, the earned silence, is not 5 separate skills. It is one coherent signal. It is the signal a man sends when his nervous system has stopped performing and started simply being. And the research on this is quietly exact. Dr. Sue Johnson's work on secure attachment documents what she calls the responsiveness accessibility loop, the specific neurological pattern that fires in an adult when they register below conscious processing that another person is genuinely present with them and will remain present without needing to be asked. When her nervous system registers this loop activating in response to you, something shifts in her that she will not be able to articulate. Not because she is confused, because it operates below language. It is the part of her that has been holding everything together, managing every variable, carrying the weight of a life she built alone. And it is the part that registers in the specific quality of your presence that she does not have to be ready to catch herself if this one falls apart too. That shift, that specific biological shift in a woman who is self-sufficient enough that her walls were never coldness, they were intelligence, is the moment she stops deciding and starts feeling. She has not given herself permission to feel this in longer than she is comfortable saying. And the thing that gave her that permission was not your words. It was not your plans or your patience or your demonstrated care. It was the signal underneath all of it. The frequency she picked up before your first sentence was finished. The steadiness she registered when she created distance and you stayed still. The depth she sensed in the spaces you did not fill. None of what I told you today requires anything you do not already have. It does not require money or status or a different version of yourself than the one sitting here right now. It requires awareness. It requires the willingness to stop filling the spaces that she needs to be present in. It requires the specific patience of a man who understands that the most powerful signal he can send is the one that comes from genuine internal stillness. Not performed, not strategic, simply real. That is the man she has been waiting to find evidence of. The one who understood what the others never took the time to learn. The one who stayed present when everything in her was designed to see if he would leave. If this changed something in how you understand what has been happening, there is one more layer that builds directly on everything you just heard. The next video examines what happens the moment she begins to feel something, and the specific pattern most men fall into at exactly that moment that collapses everything that was building. It is the most common and the most reversible mistake in the entire architecture of early connection. And understanding it is the piece that turns everything you absorb today into something that actually holds.